the classics. Today we have a beautiful unlimited format, or rotation format rather, for you. I am Sarah. With me I have Kaishi. What's up, Kaishi? How's it going?
No, yes. It's going yes.
It's going yes? I'm glad to hear that.
I thought you were going to say, how are you? And I said yes or something. I'm good, maybe. I don't know what I was trying to say.
I am good too. So I'm really excited for this. We have a first round that we're going to be going into is actually going to be our own teammate, Lucete, going against Dawnbreaker's Blum. So Lucete is on a Havencraft list, and Blum is on a Swordcraft list. I'm pretty excited for this.
Now, Lucete's list is Lionhaven that sides into Tinko, right?
Yeah, he's playing a more standard Lionhaven list, and he does have a small little splash of Tenko cards in his sideboard. He's got the White Fang Temples, the Tenko Shrines, and one of De La Phil. Whereas in the Swordcraft list, we have one of my favorite parts about this format that we're doing, of the sideboard format, is Swordcraft has something with Roundtable Assembly where they can decide into whatever they want, what they're looking for. So the Swordcraft is able to side into 3 of Princess Juliet and go more of an aggressive route.
And for anyone who's not familiar with the sideboard format, of course, this means that the players play a best of 3 with a single class. And in between games, they're allowed to go to their deck and put cards from their sideboard into the main deck, allowing them to adapt to certain matchups or, you know, whatever they need to.
And the players have access to know what the other players have in their sideboard, so it creates a little bit of a mind game. Hey, maybe my opponent's going to bring this in. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should bring this in.
Now, of course, for the first game, no sideboarding is allowed, and I believe Lucete is playing Lionhaven, and Blum is playing mid-range sword.
Yes.
And the game should be getting underway here pretty shortly.
In just a couple minutes, these players should ready up, and we'll be able to jump right into this game. So of these two lists, we've seen Havencraft with the new expansion be pretty popular, and Swordcraft is also hasn't been that much of a slouch. Who do you think is favored in this matchup?
I think versus the Lionhaven is actually a little bit ahead here. As long as the Haven player doesn't get jebaited by the immunity to spell damage effects, like Queen Magnus and Charlotta, then I think he has the room to take it here by just overwhelming with tempo late game when the sword deck runs out of steam.
It's definitely possible. We might be able to see something like Mars take over the game, or something like a Crucial Axis Shard coming down and destroying something like a Temple of the Holy Lion, but cards like that do come down a little bit later.
Of course, we just saw him throw away a Mars.
Yes, that we did.
Now it already has the Lion Temple in hand, and the 0-cost Sealed Tome. This card is so good, pretty much gets to cycle itself for free, so you're playing with 37 cards in your deck.
But the Sealed Tome does have other options as well, so the card itself is just very flexible.
I really like playing it for 0, just because it's fun to
just get through your deck just that much faster.
Well, I feel like with this deck, you're really about the early game, or not completely about the early game, but you have to have the options early on. Since most of your deck is 2-cost and 2 or 3-cost, you're going to run out of options pretty fast if you're playing 3 or 4 cards a turn.
Now the Swordcraft is going second here, and he actually does have one of his 2 Frontline Cavaliers, which is a very powerful card to have on turn 4. He's actually got both of his Frontline Cavaliers here.
Yep, and we're likely just going to see this Charlotta come down here. There's another one was just drawn to protect any board that pops up later on. I think we'll just see double Crystal come down here, or Crystal and then Peace Weaver. As, of course, that Lion Temple does refund play points, but we see the Noise come down instead.
And so this is making a very wide board, and this Charlotta can go over one of them, but it's going to make it kind of difficult to deal with all 3. The Frontline Cavalier will help take down 2 of these. If you were to go with the Valse, he could full clear, but going with the Valse is not the most comfortable clear. This
creates a much wider board that's much harder to deal with for the Haven player, especially since this Haven deck is not very reactive. It doesn't have a lot of tools to deal with wide boards like this early on.
Yep, this list plays much more on the board. It tries to take over the board with its Holy Lion Crystals.
But we see a second Lion Temple drawn here. This could potentially snowball out of control for Lucete.
Yeah, well, that is Lucete's board.
That's what I meant. It could snowball out of control in his favor. Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. Now, Loretta's Iron Fist, pretty good here. Might be able to clear off that 4-3, and that it will.
What I think we're going to have to see from the sword player here is some... he's going to have to regain board control, and then on a clear board, he's going to have to pre-evo something, I think. Something that this Haven deck has a really hard time dealing with are followers that have over 4 defense. Early on, at the very least.
Yeah, the Lion Crystals and just a large majority of the followers in this deck have 2 to 4 attack. So anything that has an odd number or anything that just goes over 4 HP becomes quite difficult to clear.
In fact, I believe the only thing in the deck that evos to 5 damage is the Peace Weaver.
I believe that is the case. I'm double checking about that.
Aside from, of course, the 4/4 Lion Crystals when he's got those online. Very good top deck there on the Lion Crystal. You'll probably see that come down.
So if he's not able to make a very wide board this turn, you might be able to see something like this Axe Destroyer come down. Maybe it can take out one of these Temple of the Holy Lions. Try to slow down what Lucete is doing just a bit here.
Yeah, very likely will choose to play that next turn with his evolve point. Lucete running a little low on board space looks a little scary. Of course, Sealed Tome will go away next turn, so that's not an issue.
I'm very curious to see as to what the sword player is going to do on this board. I would think it is the Axe Destroyer. I think you can't let these Temple of the Holy Lions go out of control.
I agree. And very smart, I think, wise of Lucete to not evolve here. You don't want to go down and evolve to sword this early on.
Yeah, and there's the Axe Destroyer.
Of course, the benefit to having 2 temples is that he's still fine.
Yeah, he's going to be able to continue doing his temple shenanigans as long as he's got the 1.
And I believe his next crystal will be a 4/4. So I believe he has those online now.
Prism Swing with a Blackened Scripture. That's going to allow him to clear this board up.
There it is. See the other one come down? Of course, he still has the Peace Weaver in hand to make some more crystals, so don't worry about him.
Yeah, Peace Weaver and the swing, Prism Swing. He's going to give him more Lion Crystals than he's going to need this game, probably. So now we have 2 of these Lions at 4/4s. Not too far away from the Storm Lions.
Yeah, I believe he just needs to summon 2 more. Or 1 more 4/4, and then the next one after that has Storm. He has a pretty strong turn on 8 here, too, with 3 mana Peace Weaver into a 5 mana Lion.
This is the turn as Swordcraft you want to be able to play your Arthur. Unfortunately, the board state was not really set up for him to do that, and his hand was obviously not set up for him to do that. This is going to be pretty difficult if you're trying to come back onto this board as the Swordcraft player.
I think we're likely to see the Vals come down and a trade with the 1/2 to get the bullet off.
Mm-hmm. You might just get the... Oh no, we're just going with...
No, chooses to get the Hedgehog down. This does also clear 1, but he chooses not to.
Recognizing that the way he's going to win this game is just by pushing face damage before the Haven is able to really take over the game with their Lion Crystals.
And we'll just likely see a series of trades here from Lucete. He has plenty in hand to deal with his board. The Prism Swing and then a couple trades.
Peace Weaver just to have a little bit of a ward if he so chooses.
He opts to not play the Peace Weaver though. Instead leaving 2 on board. Now with the Celia in hand, this leaves a potential... He's evolving, so this is 1 damage face plus 3 with Celia.
Which
plus
is
4, so...
Not even close to enough.
6? 4, no, it's just 4. Yeah, so not nearly enough damage with Celia. Not a bad top deck on that Chromatic Duel, though. I'll likely see that happen right here.
But the Chromatic Duel isn't going to help him trade into anything going on here. The 3/3 lines up very poorly against these 4/4s.
And this 6/5 just has no answer unless he wants to use the White Queen to trade into it and then hit it with the bullet. And I think we'll see that. Trade with the 1/2 to the 4/1. Oh.
We might also see just the Celia to go wide this board.
Again, chooses to go face instead of taking an easy trade.
it's Blum recognizing here that he, just by taking the good trades, he's not going to win this game. The Lion Crystal is able to go incredibly long, being able to generate infinite value. So even if you were to take every single good value trade that you could possibly get, you're never going to outvalue what the Haven has going on.
Also realizing that he's at 20 HP, and while the next crystal will be Storm, that's only 18 damage on board, so he can go face here safely.
But if you're Blum here, how do you actually close this out?
I think you pray for Sky Fortresses, and just more ways to contest the board. He does opt to not kill the 6/5, and instead trade into the 4/4. How do you feel about that trade? It removes 8 damage, that leaves a bigger body on board.
You're leaving a bigger body on board, and you're actually freeing up more space for more Lion Crystals to come down on this board. So it is a little dangerous to do this, but...
And I think Lucete should just take the trades here. You can play 2 Lion Crystals and trade with the whole board. And then he has lethal pretty much guaranteed for the next turn. Not lethal, but...
We might see the 6/5 just hit the face, just because it can.
Very likely. 6/5 hitting face guarantees lethal, I believe.
So Dragon Knight's a very powerful card to be coming out in the new expansion. Not exactly enough on this board.
Yeah, with the option just to choose on 8, 2 of those followers, it can really help you take out some big threats or take back the board.
Now, Dragon Knight's here, you'd be able to get Percival and Siegfried. Or Percival and... it's not Siegfried. Yeah, it is Siegfried. Lancelot is the one with Rush.
I don't remember all their names.
Percival and Siegfried would be able to get himself a ward and be able to remove this Peace Weaver, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, we do see that.
At this point, Haven has hit the part where they just have that infinite end game. They're going to be getting as many storms as they can, more storms than they're ever going to need.
Yep, and this game is looking pretty wrapped up.
It is in fact wrapped up.
As of course, it is in fact wrapped up.
Enough space for one more Lion Crystal on the field and enough mana for another one.
And that's going to be game 1 going to HSK's Lucete. What do you think we're going to see these players sideboard in here for the second game?
So, watching how Blum was playing that game out, he was going aggressive pretty often. So I wonder if we might see him bring in his Princess Juliet's to try to speed up the game. He's got access to something like Lancer of the Tempest, but I don't really think Lancer of the Tempest is going to match up that well against the deck that's full of 2/2s and 4/4s. So I don't think those are going to come in. Confront Adversity really doesn't help.
Well, we did see that deck just run out of answers going into the later turns. Maybe more with Rush in the deck could really help contest the board later on when he needs answers to the coming on to the Constant Lion. So maybe Barbarossas could come in, as he has 2 of those in his sideboard.
The Barbarossas might be helpful. I imagine if anything is going to be coming in, that has some higher chance of coming in. As for Lucete, though, what do you think he is going to be bringing in?
I don't know if he will, but I definitely think he should bring in these 2 Jean Beacons of Salvation. I play this card in my main board for this deck, and especially in the sword matchup, I think it's insane. As long as he cannot get, again, like I said earlier, not get jebaited by the Charlottas and the Queen Magnus effects, this board will really help him through some of those mid to late turns, clear off the wide boards of wimpy dudes that Sword tries to set up. And I don't think he has to pull in anything else.
I think it's also possible that we might see something like the Stenko Shrine package come in that is able to help them grind out the Sword, though I do think the Lion Haven list is already set up quite nicely to be able to grind out a Sword.
No, I actually prefer the Lions against Sword to Tinko, and I don't think we'll actually see him going to Tinko here, but it's definitely possible. Maybe Lucete prefers that matchup.
So these players are figuring out their sideboards, and they should be done in just a minute.
And it looks like he's back.
I actually don't believe Lucete ever left the room, so it doesn't look like he seems to be trying to sideboard at all.
Lucete did not leave the room. Seems he will not be bringing in any new cards. Yep, doesn't think he needs those Jeans.
You'd think he would just want to leave the room just to at least give the mind game that he's changing his list up. Maybe scare his opponent a little bit.
Maybe an oversight on Lucete's part, but it is, I believe, very late / very early in Korea. So Maybe he just doesn't care. Maybe he's tired, doesn't want to deal with it.
Maybe he knows something that we don't know.
Maybe he knows something we don't.
It's also possible that maybe his lists have already... He has, like, lists that he can switch through that already has what he wants the sideboard into. That maybe he just unreadied, put that in, then got ready with that.
Very true. I actually did that. I forgot about that. I did that on HSK's last sideboard tournament for Unlimited. I had several decks pre-made with my sideboard options already put into them. Definitely possible. This player should be getting back underway pretty soon. For game 2 of Lucete versus Dawnbreaker's Blum, Lucete, of course, up 1 game in this best of 3.
So that was a very dominant game, I feel, for Lucete. His Lion Crystals really got to take over. He had that early Temple of the Ancient Lion, Temple of the Holy Lion. He had that, and that was just able to take over the game in quite a dominant way.
Yeah, Lucete definitely showing his proficiency with these Lion Crystals, with this deck. Of course, Lucete won the Disaster Release event with the same deck. I don't believe he changed a single card, actually.
The list, I believe, was the same list. So this must be a list that he is quite comfortable with. He thinks the numbers on it are pretty good.
And here we are in game 2. We do in fact see the Juliettes coming in.
Okay, very interesting. So the Swordcraft is recognizing here, if he's going to win this, he's going to need to take more of an aggressive line. And unfortunately, not what you want to get off of your
That is
mulligan.
a painful opening hand when you're trying to be aggressive.
Yeah, double Skyfort. Very slow card.
Sky Fortress is a very good card, just not on turn 1. Of course, top decking the Hedgehog means he will have a turn 2 play, and will curve out nicely into the Juliet, giving him plenty of time to top deck into turn 4 through 5 plays.
Yes, absolutely. Does have a few turns to figure this out.
And we'll just see some card draw come down here for Lucete.
And to me, it's so crazy that on turn 1, it's not at all uncommon to see Haven play 2 cards now.
I've seen 4.
You've seen 4? What?
I've seen Globe into all 3.
It's just... That's disgusting. That's so much tempo. It's not even that much tempo, but it's just like so many cards to be played on one turn.
Yep, and we'll see Crystal come down for the turn 3 double 2/2 play, which I'm sure is what we'll see. Now, he could also Lion Crystal into Temple here, creating a second Temple and a 2/2.
We might see Lion Crystal into Moriai as well this turn.
Very possible, yes. Moriai on 3, of course, very strong. As it pops on your opponent's evolve turn.
The sooner you can get cards out of your hand that say draw a card, more often than not, it's better.
Very true, very true. And of course, we see the Arthur in hand this game, finally, for Blum.
The hallmark card of what is mid-range sword.
And we'll see the Juliet come down, of course. Not the worst play on turn 4 with the Bear Knight. Hopefully he comes into another 2/2 or a 4-drop. And we do see the Morier come down, pulling another Lion Crystal with 2 Peace Reapers in hand. This hand looks like it can really snowball out of control if Lucete plays it correctly.
Yeah, double Temple. He is under a little bit of pressure at the moment. Though only 1 2-drop is not going to be that great for Blum here. He wanted to have flooded the board just a little bit better than he was able to this turn.
It's very likely that his hand could stay bricked until, 2 or 3 turns from now. So,
yeah, if he draws something like a 6-drop off the top of his deck, that's not really going to help him. Something like a 3-drop off the top of his deck, it'll at least be playable, but something like a Mars or a Lancer of the Tempest isn't really what you need on this board.
Chooses the trade. And I think choosing the trade was maybe... I think there's 2 ways to think about it. You can, A, preserve your wider board because you don't have any other options in hand for the next turn, and have more things to work with if you don't top deck anything, or remove as many threats as possible. Which do you think is correct?
I think it's okay to trade because you are protecting your Hedgehog, you are pumping your Hedgehog a little bit. That Black in Scripture was such a disgustingly powerful top deck. And now we're at the point where... Now, Lucete's already played 3 Lions, right? So his Lions are going to soon start getting...
Yep, the next one will be a 4/4.
And Celia, very good draw. That is
probably his best draw.
Yeah, it's going to fill his turn 5.
As it does create 3 bodies, which means the Morier maybe doesn't hit this pre-evoed, or this evoed Celia here. He's really, really hoping that it doesn't.
Yeah, even if even if it doesn't hit the Celia, he's still in trouble. It's going to be pretty difficult for him to get out of this situation.
This turn just looks like Peace Weaver Crystal here.
Yeah, maybe we'll see something like the Moriai as well. You can go Peace Weaver Crystal into Moriai as well.
You can.
I think we're gonna see this Moriai come out of the hand.
I think you evolve the 4/4 here. Yep. Keep your big follower behind the ward, as Sword does not have very many 2-for-1 effects. I believe the only one being played right now is the Axe Destroyer.
Yeah, to deal with something like this 6/5, you would need something like an Axe Destroyer. Other than that, the ways you have to deal with big things is like your Holy Pure Bombs and your Cahoolans, and obviously this 3/2 ward would make Cahoolan not
well,
be able to
of course, Valse is also a 2-for-1 card that's played.
Yeah, but Valse is not going to be able to deal with the 6/5.
Yep, Valse not enough here.
I like that Father Punishment in Lucete's hand.
Father Punishment, definitely an interesting card. Of course, a new card here with Brigade of the Sky.
It's a very mana efficient card that's able to deal with massive threats. The only thing it asks of you is an Evo for a massive tempo swing.
Well, not gaining stats is a little bit of a price to pay. You know, not having a 3/3 or a 2/2 at least sometimes hurts.
Mm-hmm.
But occasionally you get that Lyrial value where it just trades into a 1-health follower and you feel pretty good at that.
Yeah. As a 1-mana 1/1, it gets the job done being a creature you can play early on in the game, and then it's also able to remove something later on in the game if you haven't evolved ready for that.
Of course, Lucete's hand there being a little bit awkward to try and play any crystals because of 6 mana. He had to enhance it if he wanted to play it. But I don't think he's going to be hurting for it. I think he's just where he wants to be.
This is a very clean Arthur, though. So let's see if Lucete's able to deal with this well.
Looks like trade 1, evolve 1, and double Seraphic Blade. That full clears.
Yeah, that would do it. We might also see something like the Father Punishment to remove something.
I don't think you want a Father Punishment because it doesn't really trade into anything on the board super cleanly.
Yeah.
Of course, he missed 1 crystal value there, as the crystal did refund itself to 2 play points because of the temples on board. Perhaps a slight misplay from Lucete. Of course, leaving a follower on board for the Sky Fortress.
Yeah, that's a little dangerous. Lucete not respecting that Sky Fortress here.
Of course, perhaps he knows that he can get enough Lions down next turn to get the Storm Boys. But that ward may be making it a little difficult here.
Yeah, no evolves left for Mr. Father Punishment anymore.
A little interesting to me here that he chose to play Arthur instead of Sky Fortress and go for the full clear.
Well, if you go for the Sky Fortress to clear, you're not left with a sizable board at all, if anything at all.
No, it would be full. It would be gone. But this way, he has to leave the 6/5 on board. He has no way to clear it.
Yeah, but I think this way is giving you the highest chance of having something good next turn.
Yeah, but I believe that's going to be it. As 2 crystals give him the storm, and then he can just go face, right?
I do believe, as long as he is getting 2 storm crystals off these Holy Lion crystals.
Nope, I was wrong. Okay. Looks like it'll be 1 more turn. I think you got to see Naui's come down here. Nope, never mind. Of course, it's the crystal. What am I saying?
So I'm interested to see what's going to happen here, because Sky Fortress might be able to throw a wrench in these plans here.
I think you trade over the Hedgehog to play around that. And he does.
He does. I like this. So now Roundtable Assembly, we know this has both Juliet's and Mars that it could hit.
I'm sure it pulls both.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's all it pulls, rather.
Yeah. So Juliet is not quite enough on this board. Mars into Juliet would allow him to clear the board, but not comfortably. Maybe we'll see something like the Sky Fortress come down. You can throw the Celia into that 4/2.
Sky Fortress does also full clear. If you trade Arthur into the 6/3, Celia into the 4/2, and Sky Fortress over the 4/4. Which is probably his best play, which sets him up the best, as he cannot ward, assuming he sideboarded out his Charlettas.
But that's not... I feel as though that's not going to line up too well against these Storming Holy Lion Crystals coming down over the next couple turns.
He has no way to ward in hand, so these next 2 Lions are just going to be lethal, even if he does full clear. And he's not even trading efficiently, so I assume he knows.
So the Celia is going to go over that, and I believe we're going to see the Army of Lions come down, unless Lucete gets very confused in the next couple moments.
Nope, he sees it. And here it's going to be 1-2.
Maybe he trades.
And that's Lucete. HSK's Lucete going 2-0 over Dawnbreaker's Blum.
So congratulations to Lucete. We will see you moving down bracket. We'll follow you.
Moving up the bracket?
Is there really a difference?
Along? It's kind of sideways.
Moving
really.
with the bracket.
With the bracket. Moving with the bracket to the semifinals. We'll see him later on.